I call this regular meeting of the Christiansburg Town Council, June 11, 2019, into session. As always, we ask you to take a moment of reflection, and we'll follow that up with the Pledge of Allegiance. If we can go into a moment of reflection. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to ask Vice Mayor Steve Hopper to do the allegiance in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none, we go into the public hearing section. First public hearing is a proposed ordinance to amend Chapter 42 zoning of the Christiansburg Town Code for the purpose of permitting microbreweries, art galleries, studios, museums, and similar leisure and enrichment uses in the B2 Central Business District and B3 General Business District, and to permit planned commercial developments in the B3 General Business District. Is there anyone here? I will say that the Planning Commission heard this and they voted 6-0 to approve. Is anyone here to address this matter? All right, hearing no one, we'll move on to item B, which is a boundary line adjustment moving 125.625 acres from the unincorporated area of the county of Montgomery into the incorporated town of Christiansburg. Proposed boundary adjustment was an area is commonly known as the Meadows Golf Course and Shepherd property, and is located on western boundary of the town of Christiansburg, adjacent to Christian Mill Road and Norfolk and Southern Road. Is there anyone here to address this matter?
Chris Walls, 1370 Rick Street. I just kind of have more of a question than a comment on it. It's already been decided, it's a line item budget for this year to put water and sewer over to the Meadows Golf and Country Club. You know, what is the purpose of this hearing? It seems like you all have already decided, so I don't understand why, you know, other than this is a legal requirement. It seems you all decide a lot of things behind closed doors, and then...
That's your opinion. Mr. Wakefield, do you have a back up to that? I don't think it is a line item, is it?
Well, it's proposed in the, I guess, next following fiscal year budget, although it basically goes back, I guess, really a couple of decades. It was planned really when I came to work for the town. It's actually been identified in the June 2012 Joinder study as the best basically best redundant feed for the town and necessary for a water system in that study. So it's, you know, basically been identified in a document 7 years ago as necessary for the town.
Okay. And that is, the redundancy is the fact that we currently have only one
Correct.
water line going down 114 that serves
correct.
the town of Christiansburg.
Yes, it does.
This allows us a secondary
It
line.
does.
In case the big one went
Correct.
down, we could still serve the citizens.
Correct.
And that's been planned for years.
Yes.
Okay.
Like I say, it's been really concepts, I think probably a couple of decades, but at least documentation of it goes back to 2012 with the Joinder study.
Okay.
We have a sewer easement out there too, don't we?
Correct.
Yeah, there's a sewer line out there, I believe, that runs along the railroad.
Yeah, there is.
Okay. Anyone else to address? Hearing none, we move on to a boundary line adjustment moving 176.374 acres from the unincorporated area of the county of Montgomery into the incorporated town of Christiansburg. The proposed boundary adjustment area is commonly known as Cross Point Foursquare Conference Center and town of Christiansburg Pump Station, and is located on the southwestern boundary line of the town of Christiansburg, adjacent to Route 8 and Interstate 81. Is there anyone here to address this issue? A boundary line adjustment. And the next item is a boundary line adjustment moving 26.043 acres from the unincorporated area of the county of Montgomery into the incorporated town of Christiansburg. The purpose of this boundary adjustment area includes the property tax map numbers 95-5-1 and 94-5-2, and is located on the southern boundary of the town of Christiansburg, adjacent to Falling Branch Road and the Interstate 81 northbound entrance ramp D, exit 118B. Anyone to address this? Okay. And the third is the boundary line adjustment moving .360 acres from the unincorporated area of the county of Montgomery into the incorporated town of Christiansburg. The proposed boundary adjustment area includes a portion of property tax map number 53018-17-1 and is located on the southern boundary of the town of Christiansburg near the intersection of Curtis Drive and Giles Drive. Is anyone here to address these issues? And might I add that these areas that we have been asked, all four of these, they have been addressed to us by the owners of the property wanting to come into town. We've not gone out and solicited. They've come to us wanting to become part of the town, and that's why we're doing the boundary line adjustments with the county.
Concerning cross points, I think that's been in discussion for a number of years too, hasn't it?
Yes, it has, and there's actually a continuation of the project that we mentioned earlier, future phase that would serve the 114, exit 114 interchange. So it would serve that area in the future. But like I say, that's basically the future phase of the project we mentioned earlier.
Okay. And the town supports all these things.
Yes, like I say, we have basically planned those projects for years.
And this is all basically raw land. We're not taking any houses other than we're actually part of the property that we requested to take. There's the section off of Flanagan Drive. There's several residences and businesses. They don't come into town.
Correct. It's just the Meadows property and our pump station with that adjustment.
All right, how many of these has the county weighed in on?
The county has only voted on the Meadows
And they
boundary
voted
adjustment.
to,
It was unanimous, 6-0 with one abstention.
So they haven't voted on cross point yet.
No, they haven't.
What, do you know when that's coming up?
Probably next meeting, but I can't necessarily say. I think they're scheduling, they haven't had the public hearing for that one yet. They're scheduling it next meeting.
As far as you know, they're supportive of
As far as I know. Like I said, they did vote on the Meadows adjustment last night.
Okay. Any desire from council to act on any or all of these tonight?
well, I would make a motion that we include the Meadows, or I believe it's item B, into the discussion of the mayor and council, since the county has already gave it their blessing.
Okay. Is that a motion?
Yes, in the form of a
Do I have a
motion.
second? A motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Or
it. Now, the Meadows is not costing us any money?
To bring it into town, we'd pick up property taxes on the property. But as far as bringing it into town, it's not really a cost to the town.
And they're going to, the Meadows group, as they build out there, they will pay the normal sewer, water connection fees to each house out there
Yes, they would.
to hook onto the existing sewer and water.
Correct.
There is town water out there now.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's pretty much a done deal that they are going to build out there.
They do plan on development. That's part of the reason they want to bring it into town.
Ms. Inline, would you,
Councilman Bishop. Councilman Collins.
Abstain.
Councilman Hubbard.
Aye.
Councilwoman Sacks?
Nay.
Councilman Showalter?
Aye.
So that is 3-4, 1 against, is that correct? 1 abstain, 1 absent. I guess that's kind of like a tie, isn't it?
3-1? Yeah, 3-1.
3-1?
Pass.
Okay, so it's passed. All right. So we'll move that to item C, under discussion and action by mayor and council. Under the consent agenda, we have council minutes for May 28, 2019, and to schedule a public hearing on July 9, 2019 for an ordinance to amend Chapter 18 Finance and Taxation Article in general to enact Section 18.3 to allow the clerk of the court to collect a $5 fee for criminal and traffic cases in order to solely fund an electronic summons system pursuant to the Code of Virginia, Section 17.1-2.79.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Ms. Inline?
Councilman Bishop? Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilman Hubbard?
Aye.
Councilwoman Sacks?
Aye.
Councilman Showalter?
Aye.
Okay, that carries. Incidentally, pardon my rudeness, I did not recognize Executive Assistant Tracy Henline, who's filling in for the Clerk of Council while she enjoys some vacation. Introductions and presentations. Parks and Recreation Director Brad Epley to report on Jill's Buddy Camp.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I appreciate you having me here today and appreciate Councilman Collins asking me to come and speak before you tonight. Just want to give you an update on Jill's Buddy Camp and where we are. We're getting ready to start our 5th year. As hard as that is to believe, it seems like yesterday we started it. I'm going to go through a little presentation and give you a little bit of history on Jill's Buddy Camp and sort of let you know where we are with our growth and those types of things. So it's hard to read that, but in the history of Jill's Buddy Camp, I just want to give you a little bit of info on this. There was a buddy camp that was formed in Galax in 1981, actually by Dr. Tommy Barber. And Dr. Barber went through and did the buddy camp for an extended period of time, and as he transferred into the City of Salem schools, did the same thing through the educational and foundation of Salem. There was a buddy that continued to work with children and individuals with disabilities, Jill Bailey, Shanae was her name, and unfortunately Jill drowned off the coast of North Carolina, and at that point funding had been lost for Jill's Buddy Camp, for a buddy camp in the Salem area. And Dr. Barber wanted to try to do something to bring back the memory of Jill. And so that's where the Jill's Buddy Camp began in Salem. Dr. Barber and I talked quite a bit. We coached football together in Salem and wanted to try to find a way to get something started here in Christiansburg. And we were really the first of its kind to be able to bring recreation into buddy camp. Normally it had been done through an educational institute or a foundation. So we were sort of the first of its kind, and we sort of got our game plan together and went and tried to get buddy camp going, went and met with the school system, and just funding wasn't quite there to be able to do the camp the way we wanted to. So the first year, unfortunately, it was sort of turned down, and we weren't able to move forward. So Dr. Barber and I both came back and tried to find different ways that we could be able to come up with some type of funding to be able to make this camp possible. Went back and sort of used some of our resources from tournaments and those types of things, and was able to raise funding to be able to help pay for Jill's Buddy Camp through baseball tournaments, as well as some donations through some of our sports organizations in the area. Our first year that we actually had Jill's Buddy Camp was in 2015. And then from that point on, we were invited to speak at the Virginia Recreation Park Society, which is the local, basically the state recreation commission. And we spoke on Jill's Buddy Camp. At that point, Charlottesville came on board and they wanted to start a buddy camp, so it grew. Then in 2018, Dr. Barber and myself went and spoke at the NRPA, the national conference, and at that point, it drew some interest of other places within the United States, Clemson University, as well as Las Vegas and a few other places. Can't say for sure that they have implemented the buddy camp, but it has drawn interest to where they have a desire to do that. So the collaboration of recreation, school, and civic groups. So there's a lot of different things you can look at with buddy camps. As I mentioned before, our buddy camp is the first of its kind to do recreation and education combined together. We felt like being able to pull our resources together was an important aspect so that we could provide a great camp opportunity for the children of our area. In Charlottesville, they do primarily recreation, and what their product is primarily doing arts and crafts and those types of things as their way of their camp. In Salem, as I mentioned before, it's done through a foundation in education, and they're moving forward with their camp as well. Civic clubs, organizations, and foundations, all of these areas are important to Jill's Buddy Camp to be able to help fund different things for the camp. So in many cases, each of our areas rely on that quite a bit. I spoke earlier about some of the places that have shown interest in beginning a buddy camp in their area: Clemson, Georgia, North Carolina, Indiana, and Las Vegas. So basically, our section here, as far as the Christiansburg section of Jill's Buddy Camp, I want to go over a few things: just the journey of the camp itself, the collaboration, and sort of how we've split up our responsibilities, the funding aspect, and sort of what we do in the camp, the guidelines and structures of the camp, and then sort of the growth that we have seen over the past 4 years, now going into our 5th. So early on, as I mentioned before, we tried to get the camp started. Dr. Barber and myself discussed it, and we were unsuccessful. But we just kept sort of plugging forward, trying to find a way to make it work. Fortunately, with a lot of support here in the town, a lot of drive with Dr. Barber, and being able to go to the school system with sort of some different ideas and aspects, we were able to get it moved through. At the time that we got it started, Dr. Pat Nelson was recently hired as a special education director at that time. And so that was sort of our next in. We were trying to do another presentation, and fortunately it worked the second time. And we realized that really our dream was going to become a reality at that point, and we started working hard. They approved it, and we started the camp in 2015, and we're a little bit different. Salem's camp is a 1-week camp. Charlottesville is also a 1-week camp. Ours is a 2-week camp. It's Monday through Thursday with our camps, and then we have a 3-day weekend sort of for everybody to rest up and get ready for the next week. Kathleen Wright is the lead speech pathologist for Montgomery County Public Schools, and Kathleen has served as the camp director every year and will continue to be that this year as well. Again, partnerships, our MTS Nations, USSSA Baseball, as well as our local New River Thunder organization. So sort of the duties that we split up, Parks and Recreation, we provide the facilities. A lot of times, one of the selling points is sometimes not necessarily here, but in a lot of places, school systems sort of shut down for the summertime to save money, save resources, and those types of things. In recreation, that's when we've become busier. And so we were able to provide the facilities of the recreation center to have buddy camp and provide staffing there. We also go through and provide breakfasts and lunches for all of the campers as well as the buddies. And then we provide active items to work on fine and gross motor skills. And then every day we go on a field trip, and it's always different. And generally each day that field trip, everything sort of is circled around that. When we have music, it's designed, if we're going to the fire department, that day it's going to be designed, the music will have something to do with the fire department. The arts and crafts will have something to do with the fire department. Generally, the fire department also comes up and they get to sit on the truck and do those types of things. So it's all a really fun item, and we do something different every day. Another part that's responsible in Parks and Rec is recruiting and selection of buddies. We're in contact with a lot of teenage children as well as new college-age students. And in some cases, a lot of them have decided upon what they want to do in life. And in many cases, it could be therapeutic recreation, rehabilitation, special education. And this is just a perfect avenue for them. And so it helps them, helps us as well, and helps the camp. The school division, they also provide staffing as well as aides. Many of the staffing that they have in aides work with many of the campers throughout the school year. So they have that firsthand knowledge and understanding of many of those campers. They also develop daily educational activities, have a better understanding of their medical conditions and needs. Also, last year, they provided transportation. So the first few years, parents would have to bring the children to the recreation center and then come pick them up. Last year was the first year they started with bus transportation for any of the children that needed that. So that was a great item for us to have. Again, and they continue with selection of campers, develop training day, and also recruitment. Funding of Jill's Buddy Camp, there's a lot of different ways that you can fund Jill's Buddy Camp, local education agency, grants, recreation camp funds, different carryover funds, benefit tournaments, and recreational events. There's also donations from private organizations, such as some of your civic groups and private donors, local businesses, churches, and even past buddies, families. We've been fortunate to be able to have funding for the camp that's been able to provide the things that we need to provide. Guidelines and structure for Jill's Buddy Camp. Again, as I mentioned before, it's a 2-week camp, Monday through Thursday. We start at 8:30 in the morning and we finish at 12:30. Generally, we go up to 20 participants, and we like to have a few more buddies than we do participants. And that seems to work really well for us. This past year we had senior buddies and we had junior buddies, so they're in training basically. And has worked very well. As I mentioned, buddies age 15 to 21 and then juniors ages 11 to 14. Our daily schedule, as it is on here, we'll do a little bit of breakfast and free time. We generally have a lot of toys and stuff set up. An introductory song, and then we get into groups, and basically the groups rotate, arts, reading, music, and then a physical activity. And then we get ready for the field trip, and we go, and then we come back, and by that point, it's time to wrap the day up and get everything together, have a little bit of free time, and then the parents pick them up. Growth of the camp. In the past 4 years, we've had 97 total buddies. 20 college students, 50 high school students, and 27 junior high students. Over 30% of the folks that have served as buddies have shown a desire that they want to move on into the therapeutic or special education field, recreation field. So we like to think that Buddy Camp had a little bit something to do with that. The campers, we've had 70 total campers over the past 4 years. We've had 30 campers that returned for 3 years. We had 20 for 2 and 20 for 1. Basically, as I put here, the success of the camp is based upon the growth and trust and increased of effective communication. And that teenage buddy that's working with that camper, it's really hard to explain the bond that is made there between the two individuals, and just to see the overall growth, not just through the camp, but even into the years. We had one camper that when we were working with him his first year, he wasn't comfortable doing a lot of the different things, and this buddy was great with him. Stayed there and tried to make him as comfortable as possible. The next year, well, for instance, we go to the fire department, and he didn't want to get off the bus, and so we stayed on the bus and looked. And the second year, he gets off the bus and he makes it to the doorway, and he's checking everything out. The third year, he's in the fire truck, he's got the hat on, he's doing everything. And so just to see that progression is a real important thing and makes you understand what Buddy Camp's all about. So these are just some pictures of Buddy Camp that we have. That's the morning time, that's our music time there. And then over on the right, that picture is just some free time for the children along with their buddies. We always go every year fishing, and that's been a great thing. When we first started the first year, a few of them told me I was crazy that we were going fishing to the pond, but that has been one of the best field trips that we've had. I think every child has caught a fish. We work closely with Walmart as well as Dick's Sporting Goods, and they provide fishing poles for all the children so they can take them home with them after the camp's over with. And I think everybody's caught a camp. Last year, somebody caught a bass that weighed over 5 pounds, so that was a pretty big treat for them. We also do, you can see that's at a local arcade, New River Super Bowl, and so we go there. That's generally our first day of the camp, and they love all the arcades and bowling and those types of things. This is just some free time with some of our activities at the Recreation Center. Parachute balls, shooting basketballs, a little bit of everything there that we do. This is at a 5J Farm, which is in Floyd. It's a petting zoo. A local family takes care of the farm, and this is always a big hit with the campers and the buddies. Again, this is one of the fire department days, and kids always love that as well. And then the final thing that we normally do is we go to a swimming pool, and you know, for many of the kids, some of them haven't swam, so some of it's their first time being in a pool, and their buddies right there with them the whole way, and just to be able to see their smiles is pretty special for sure. Who benefits from Buddy Camp? Everybody benefits. The preschool campers, they benefit. It's 32 hours of stimulation, of individual stimulation, and just working with a cool teenager, and sometimes it helps parents because it's that teenager might end up being a babysitter for them, you know, and they form that bond and special connection. The teenage buddy, it's really important for them. You know, when I first started this camp, it was designed to help the campers. But as we got into it, I realized that it was helping much more than the campers. It was helping the teenage buddies. It was helping us as administrators, and as well as helping parents. Plus, in some cases, it gives parents an opportunity to go out to breakfast or go out to lunch and do those types of things and have a little bit of free time themselves. Cumulative growth, this is Christiansburg, Salem, and Charlottesville. We've had 202 buddies between the 3 camps. We've had 86 junior buddies. And then camper-wise, we've had 204 campers, and that's through 4 years there. We look forward, right now I think we sort of found our niche here in Christiansburg. We're between the 15 and 20 range in campers. We generally like to have about 30 buddies, so that all works out really well for us. And so we start our 5th year this coming Monday, June the 17th, and really looking forward to it, and just wanted to let y'all know about Buddy Camp. If they have any questions.
Brett, how does one become a buddy?
So they can contact me, and I will work with Kathleen Wright, and basically they have a little application process that they fill out, and we look at those and then select them.
And the campers come from Montgomery County or?
Montgomery County Public Schools, yes, and the school system selects the actual campers for the camp.
Brad, how long have we been doing this in Christiansburg?
This will be our 5th year. This will be our 5th year.
And this is something that Brad's brought along to us, and I have to commend your staff that's
Appreciate
for
that.
doing this. It's a terrific thing. If nobody knows about it, you should really look into it, maybe even look into being a buddy. This is something that makes me proud when we hear about programs that our departments do. This is an important thing. It's a big deal.
Thank you, thank you. It's
Yeah, I like
definitely a team effort. I mean, the whole staff works really hard, you know. Fortunately, we have one of our field maintenance supervisors, he's the EMT, so he serves as the EMT through the camp, and we just sort of multitask, and we get it done, and it's total team effort from everyone.
Yeah, Shep said the same thing that Henry said. This is a great program. I mean, a great program. And we're awfully proud of the program and of you, buddy. You're a wonderful man.
Thank you, I appreciate that, sir.
Greg, when does your program start?
When does it start?
When are you going to have this year's camp? Maybe
It starts on Monday.
Monday.
Monday, yes, June
I will-
17th. 8:30 in the
Strongly
morning.
encourage any of the council members that can spare a few minutes, particularly early on in the morning, just to go up and visit. I've been up 2 or 3 years at some point during the camp to see what goes on. It's pretty interesting.
It's a great thing. It's, you know, sometimes as a director, I sit behind a computer all the time, and those are the things that I end up doing, but buddy camp sort of makes you realize why you got into the field of recreation to begin with. You're helping people, so it's a good thing.
Thanks, your brother.
Okay.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Him too.
I would. Okay. I have some proclamations that I need to move up to the podium for. May is always a very, very busy month as far as there's everything from the National Police Week to EMS Week to public works and safety work, you know, of workers involved. And this year, I have to admit, it kind of caught me off guard. So instead of bringing a proclamation or a resolution to council, a lot of them I had to write up as proclamations the day that it started. So, Jim, Public Works Weeks. Yeah. And I'll read this. I'm not going to. Whereas public works infrastructure, facilities, and services are vital importance to the health, safety, and economy and overall well-being of our community, and whereas such facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals, engineers, and administrators representing all levels of government who are responsible for and must plan, design, construct, inspect, operate, and maintain public works facilities essential to serve our citizens. And whereas the efficiency of this qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works functions is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. And whereas it is in public interest of our citizens, civic leaders, and children to learn and understand the importance and vital public works programs such as drinking water, sanitary and storm sewers, streets, highways, public buildings, and solid waste collection and disposal. And whereas the theme of this year's celebration is It Starts Here. 2019 marks the 60th annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now therefore be proclaimed that the Christiansburg Town Council hereby proclaims the week of May 19th through the 25th as Public Works Week in the town of Christiansburg, Virginia, and we do hereby call upon all citizens and civic leaders in the community to gain knowledge of and maintain an important progressive interest in the public works needs and programs vital to our everyday lives, and to recognize the daily contributions which public works officials make to ensure our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Given under my hand and sealed 19th day of May 2019. Jim, Travis, we appreciate everything that you all do, and I know we had a banner across Main Street announcing that, and it's just, some of the stuff to get them all together.
It is. We appreciate yours and council support too.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, before you get into the next one, I just wanted to bring out a point that, believe it or not, they are also in charge of the cemetery. And I think I brought out the last meeting how they had put up 2 new entrance pillars to the cemetery. And today I went by and saw they've got flowers down there, and it really looks outstanding. if you have a chance to go by there, you're gonna really appreciate the work that they've done, and I say thank you.
And they all do that, they're 15 men short right now, aren't you? Huh?
We're 11.
11, you're getting better, okay, very good.
And Jim, take that applause back to your team. They deserve it.
This next is a proclamation National Police Week, May 12th through the 18th. Chief? Whereas the President of the United States and U.S. Congress have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and May 12th through the 18th, 2019 as National Police Week. And whereas the staff of the Christiansburg Police Department displays an essential role in protecting and preserving the rights and freedom of our citizens, and whereas the Christiansburg Police Department Citizen Support Group serves to promote community awareness and also provides support to our police officers and their families as our officers bravely fulfill their duties and responsibilities for safeguarding the life and property of our residents. Whereas members of the law enforcement agency protect citizens from violence and disorder, the innocent from deception, and the weak against oppression. And whereas the men and women of the Christiansburg Police Department unceasingly provide a vital public service and deserve to be recognized for their faithful and loyal devotion, their exhibit, and their courage of deeds. Now therefore be proclaimed that the Christiansburg Town Council calls upon all citizens and civic organizations to observe the week of May 12th to the 18th as National Police Week, to recognize our police officers, past and present, through their dedicated service and personal sacrifices, that our police officers selflessly preserve the rights and bring security to all citizens who are to be committed and are to be committed for their service to our community. Chief?
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
So that's a very important week to law enforcement, as Mr. Bishop knows, retired law enforcement. But I've often said in this community, we're very blessed to have such a positive relationship between our citizenry and police. And that's just a culture that's been created, not just by us, but our citizens. So we appreciate the support during that week.
And Chief, you're bringing back the shirts every year during this week?
Yes, sir.
I like
One
those.
week a year.
Those only two.
That's good.
The- Mr. Mayor, maybe Chief might want to bring up too, they had the torch run this past week, and Christiansburg was very much involved in it, and it's due a lot to the chief's responsibility and how he's generated it year after year. And I'm not sure if you want to explain what the torch run is or not, but it's a good thing for Christiansburg, and I appreciate it.
This is kind of a threefer. So I'm going to ask the Christiansburg Rescue Squad members to come forward. I believe the fire department's out responding to a wreck, so I don't know if we had the fires in here tonight or not. And Chief Sis, if you would come forward. This is a proclamation of Emergency Medical Services, EMS Week, May 19th through the 25th. Whereas emergency medical service is a vital public service, and whereas the members of the Christiansburg Rescue Squad are all ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventive medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas in addition to the dedicated members of the Christiansburg Rescue Squad, officers of the Christiansburg Police Department, and volunteers of the Christiansburg Fire Department provide emergency medical services as part of their regular duties. Whereas the emergency medical services system also consists of emergency medical dispatchers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of the emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continue education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas the town of Christiansburg and its residents greatly benefit from the service and contributions of the emergency medical services members throughout our community, including the Christiansburg Rescue, the Christiansburg Police Department, and the Christiansburg Fire Department. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Mayor Barber and Christiansburg Town Council designates the week of May 19th to the 25th, 2019 as Emergency Medical Services EMS Week, and recognize the importance, value, and the accomplishments of emergency medical personnel providers. Joe? Chief? It's yours.
Mayor and Council, I want to recognize this is the bulk of our volunteer officers and coordinators, and I brought them with me tonight because without them, we wouldn't function. So I want to bring them here and recognize them. My thanks for everything you do.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies.
Yeah.
Steve?
Steve,
He'll make a comment after I do.
He'll get it already.
Joe, I just want to appreciate your professionalism and your staff's professionalism. I know throughout my life, when things happen, either to my parents, grandparents, even to my family, you guys have always been there. And that even carries over to Chief Sisson and his group, and Jim and his group. Even the fire department, who's not here today, they had another week some other time. But these are some of the things that people take for granted until something happens in your life. And these are the people and the professionals that take care of us. So, thank you.
You know, I do have a short comment.
Shock. That's all I'm saying is shock.
Joe, I was over there a couple weeks ago, I think we mentioned it during the council meeting, about the whole, they have done a tremendous job resurfacing or redoing the EMS building. And when is that, you have a grand opening for that, or?
We don't have a grand opening set. We're working on the final punch list with the vendor. So hopefully the renovation will be done by the end of this month, and then maybe in July at some point we'll have a little grand opening.
And if you see an advertisement for it, go on over there. You will be very, very impressed with what they've done over there. Thank you.
Did all you got? Citizens' comments, this is where we open the floor to any citizens that may have comments, concerns, or questions they want to bring before council. As normal, we will ask that you give your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone here to address town council? Seeing no one, I will close the committee, the citizens' comments. We'll go into committee reports. Ms. Sachs? And you can also, if you have any...
Throw it all in together?
Yeah, let's throw it all in together, and who doesn't speak, we'll get them at the end.
Okay, sounds good. I would like to mention about the buddy camp, is that a few years back, my daughter was a counselor, and I have to say that she was forever changed. She had an amazing experience. So if you have kids of that age that could benefit from this program, I encourage you to try to talk to them about it and see if they're interested, because they truly come back different, for the better. Okay, for central business, we have a lot going on. So I wanted to talk to council about proposing a secondary committee. And we have talked about this in the committee, and we feel like there's so much on our to-do list that we're not able to get it all accomplished. And a lot of it has to deal with art. So we'd like to talk about creating a public arts council that would be a secondary to central business that would report and bring everything to central business, so we can bring that back to council. But we feel like we would get a lot more accomplished, which is what we all would like to see. So I'd like to talk to council about considering that and tasking Andrew with the ability to structure that in the proper way. Did you have anything to add to that, Andrew?
And I just add that Casey Jenkins, our farmers market manager, event coordinator, has been doing some research as well, how other communities have handled it, especially when we do have the donation from the Thompson Nixon families, that we will be considering projects to utilize that money in the next probably 6 months or so. So it would, so in conversations with central business, it would be beneficial to have a group that could really focus towards arts-related projects.
Can you give us an example of what it would do? I mean, specifically?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We have, we have the facade grant where some of the business fronts are going to be enhanced. We have art projects all through town. So we're looking at the Aquatic Center, Main Street, Cambria. You've seen a few of them out there, but we have so many more planned, and so much more that we would like to do in that aspect. We have a potential art street project. It's not been finalized yet, so I hate to get too excited about it. But if that occurs, we really need somebody to work with the elementary schools who can, like an art teacher, for example, who can make that a project and get all the children involved in it, which I think would be awesome. But to task that right now with what we have on our plate tends to be a bit overzealous.
How many members would be on the subcommittee?
We would probably look at no more than 5
And it would be composed of,
community members.
okay.
You know, so if anybody had an interest, and Andrew, please correct me, they can express their interest of being a part of that committee. And it would be nice if there was some arts background. You know, historic, of course, is always nice, so we can keep things as historic as we can. Art teachers, artists, just business people, regular citizens, anybody. So the more eclectic we are, I think the better decisions we'll make.
And who would select the committee?
I would be looking at Andrew and Randy for that.
And then these details would need to be worked out. We would obviously want to come back to council with the details.
With the final plan.
Once we,
Yeah.
once we come up with a structure that we believe would work best for these decisions. So we would then come back to you with those details.
And Andrew, if I heard you right, the art fund or reserves that were donated by the Thompsons and Ms. Nixon, that would just act as a funding tool, but not immediately. Would it be a matching grant, or do you plan to use all of it within the next fiscal year?
Just speaking for myself, I think we need a lot of planning before we start to dive into those funds.
Absolutely.
Because I'd like to see something larger and more impressive. And to do that, it takes a little bit more planning time. So even though the money's there, it's okay still sitting there. You know, right now, we really haven't had a need to use it because all our projects have been fairly small. A few $100s, you know.
And this is just for me, but it was such an incredible gift that the Thompsons and Miss Nixon gave us for art in downtown. I would like to see us, even if we do exhaust some of it, to create a reserve fund for that we budget for that every year, especially when you start to see the dividends from the art subcommittee that start to pay off around town.
I totally agree.
Absolutely, thank you.
It would be my hope that this subcommittee would work on, and I know you said you had a sidewalk art program going, but I'm thinking of an art show, allowing the local artists to come and set up on Hickok Street to be able to, one, vend their paintings that they want, something like that. The Central Business Committee is extremely busy. Isn't that right, Mr. Bishop?
Yes, sir.
So what I guess we're looking for is kind of a head shake. Yeah, it's all right to go ahead and start looking at it.
Absolutely.
Harry?
Yes, sir.
Sam, you good? Okay.
I appreciate that very much. And that's all I've got.
Would this include the love sign at the Aquatic Center? Would that be
I really,
revamped?
I hope, and I think that will be completed before this committee is probably put together.
Excellent, thank you.
Mr. Hubbard?
I am the liaison for the pool, and he's just talking about the love sign. I think all of you have seen the love sign there at the Aquatic Center, and they are going to replace that with a newer sign, which I think is, the old sign has been a little beat up, and their ideas on that are really sounded excellent to me. And another thing that we discussed, though this is the pool people discussed, and this is what the central business people generated. I'm not sure if you can see this, but I think everybody has been to the Aquatic Center, and you know the stairs leading up from the parking lot into there. And this is a place where they, in their stairs, they put the names of books and their authors. And is what we're sort of thinking about doing, is putting these stairs, but putting famous swimmers on each of the different stairs, and you could, just try to relate to that. So I think, some of the ideas that you guys have gotten are really, really good and really interesting. more on the aquatic center, they have, if anybody's interested, they have their summer bulletin out that they've been put out, and everyone looks at it, and they have a lot going on at the aquatic center this summer. Also, they have a camp going on, and that camp started yesterday. And I think they have about 40 kids per camp, and it goes on the whole summer. And this is not just swimming, but they get out into the different parks, and they do different things. And every week is booked up right now throughout the summer. And it's a great experience for the kids, and it goes from 8:30 in the morning until 5:30 in the afternoon. And so I think it's great that we've got all these different things going on in this town, and it just shows you that we really are fortunate that we have so many good people here that are directors for these different projects.
Thank you. So,
I have nothing.
Bishop. Mr. Collins?
Yes, sir, the planning commission this past week did not meet. The rec center, we met first of the month, and we discussed most of the camp that he explained to you tonight, and that starts tomorrow. And I just want to give a shout out to the first aid squad. They saved me twice before I had my transplant. I appreciate you folks so very much. The police department, great people, and Public Works, there's no better one around at all. They're great folks.
Very good.
So,
Anything else? Discussion and action by mayor and council. A rezoning request by Tim Lawson, agent for M&T Development LLC, for an approximately 1.48 acre property located at 825 Park Street, Northeast Tax Map number 498A-83, from the I-2 General Industrial District to the I-1 Limited Industrial District. The property is designed as mixed use with buffer, industrial, and future land use map with the 2013 Christiansburg Comprehensive Plan. The public hearing was held on May the 28th, 2018.
I'll make a motion that we approve the rezoning request by Tim Lawson, agent for M&T Development LLC, for an approximately 1.4 acre property located at 825 Park Street Northeast, tax map number 498-A-83, from the I-2 General Industrial District to the I-1 Limited Industrial District.
I second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Tracy?
Councilman Bishop? Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilman Hubbard?
Aye.
Councilwoman Sacks?
Aye.
Councilman Showalter?
Aye.
That is 5-0. Thank you. The motion is carried. Recommendation to the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors for an appointment to the Montgomery Regional Economic Development Commission, the EDC, for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2019. Mr. Stipes has served on this for the last 3 years, and he has asked to step off of it.
And I make a motion to vote you in for this commission, if you would, Mayor Mike Barber.
Okay.
I'll second it.
And you accept it, right?
Yeah. If y'all pass it, I'll accept
You
it.
accept it.
I mean, I got nothing else to do on the fourth Thursday of each month that I know of.
Hey,
right?
I'm sure you'll find something.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? Tracy?
Councilman Bishop? Councilman Collins? Councilman Hubbard?
Aye.
Councilwoman Sacks?
Aye.
Councilman Showalter?
Aye.
That's fine. Now, Randy, do I sign the letter appointing me, or should we get the vice mayor to do it?
Give them a copy of the minutes, will work fine too, so.
Okay, all right, we'll take care of that.
That'll prove we voted you.
That's exactly right.
You
Vice
take
Mayor
it.
would be happy to do it.
Very good. Okay, next on the agenda was added the boundary line adjustment for the Meadows Golf Course, Shepherd property, located on Chrisman Mill Road, north from Southern Railroad right away. Do we have a motion to enter into a vote? Hearing none, then we will carry this over to our next meeting on June 28th. Staff reports, town manager.
Just have one item. Of course, as you probably know, we had a couple of police vehicles totaled last month, and we were able, from insurance, to be able to basically cover replacement of one, but one we're significantly short. That's on an older vehicle, although it's not scheduled for replacement yet. Val and I feel basically it's outside the budget policy of the $10,000 transfer, basically within the capital for us to be able to approve it. Although we do feel we have the funds between capital, operating, and anti-drug funds that we can cover it within current budget. Basically, we have council's blessing.
Seems logical to me.
You what?
Seems logical to me. I would head nod on that.
Got a heads up from you all? I don't think it required that. It's okay. Thank you. Proceed. Anything else?
That's
Not
it.
for you? Mr. Quinn?
No report, man.
Any other staff here that would like to comment? Council reports. Gosh, I don't, the only thing that we have run into an issue with, as we discussed earlier, is that we seem to not be able to hold the retreat on the 28th and 29th. We've got some council members are going to have to be out for work. So the original discussion was, could we do 2 straight Saturdays? Someone came up, I think maybe Mr. Hubbard came up with, we would do an interim Tuesday evening from like 5:30 to 10, on an off week, obviously, and follow up with a Saturday final plan on maybe a week after that. Does that sound reasonable to you all?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Randy, you want to work with Kevin and come up with,
Yes.
good day. So y'all are basically good
Where are you
after.
gonna have it at?
Huh?
What location?
Well, I think we'll still stay where we were going to go before, if possible. If possible, if not, we'll find an alternate location.
I do want to appreciate it. I was the one this time that had a work conflict, so I do want to thank council and staff for working with me and making sure I'll be a part of it. Thank you.
So Randy, if you'll get with me and Kevin Bird, I guess we'll get Kevin to facilitate it again if he can.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good. Anything? Any other council reports?
I don't have a report. I just sort of wanted to explain why I put the Meadows on the agenda tonight. That was mainly because of the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors approving it. The Meadows property was something council's discussed in past while I've been on it, either purchasing the property or not. But I didn't talk to Ms. Sachs prior to this meeting, so I'm sure she will do her due diligence to weigh either approve or disapprove. And I think also having Brad Stipes here too, when we vote on it in 2 weeks, you'll either get a wholeheartedly approval by council to bring it in, which is duly deserved by the developer out there. So I appreciate it. Thanks.
I was amazed looking at how much of that land out there is in a flood zone. It's unbuildable. I mean, it's probably 50 to 60%. It's all in the flood zone, so.
Yeah, we looked at it several times for a lot of different things, not just for the town use, but other developers.
All right. Thank you. So, any other business to come before council? Our next meeting is June the 25th, 2019, 7 p.m. We're adjourned.